Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmatak wa mishur alaina min khazaini rahmatik ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma arina haqqa haqqan warzuqna tiba'ah wa arina batila batilan warzuqna tinabah. Allahumma arina asya' kama hiya. Thank you Sister Khalina Khalili, our Master of Ceremony for KLIKS 2017. Dear beloved and respected Masyaikh, Sheikh Dr. Umar Farouk Abdullah from the USA, Sheikh Dr. Sain Abdul Latif Faudah from Jordan, Sheikh Dr. Khalid Zahri and Dr. Hakimah Shami from Morocco. Alhamdulillah, we are very fortunate in these 3 days of KLIKS 2 to be accompanied by and to learn from the world leading ulama in the field of ilmul kalam or ilmul Aqidah or ilmu tawhid or fiqh al-akbar, as ilmu kalam is variously known throughout the Islamic intellectual tradition. Tomorrow, Sheikh Dr. Abdul Hakim Murad, one of the leading lights in our time, will also be with us, inshallah. We are also very blessed to be graced today by Sheikh Muhammad Al-Jilani from Gambia, Sheikh Imam Afroz from Australia. Ahlan wa sallam wa marhaban bikum. We hope with the barakah of our masyaikh and with their knowledge and wisdom, bear present with us in this 3 days will make our KLIKS 2 a very blessed meeting by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although we are very sad that the key person behind our effort to revive the tradition of Kalam as the rational, analytical and systematic exposition of our Aqidah and belief, Sheikh Dr. Arif Naid from Libya, the founder and chairman of KRM, could not be with us due to his health condition and also a difficult situation that happening now in his own country, Libya, which is he directly involved. We are also very delighted that his most trusted person, Sheikh Sidi Sohail Nakhoda, Executive Director of KRM, will represent Professor Dr. Arif during the KLIKS 2. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to endow Dr. Arif good health, peace of heart and mind, and also make the situation in Libya better for our beloved brothers and sisters there. I'm also very heartened to my Malaysian scholars and colleagues who are very dedicated in our initial and small initiative to revive Ilmul Kalam in Malaysia, who are willing to share their thought with us, especially Dr. Muhammad Zaidi Ismail from IKIM and Dr. Muhammad Farid Shahran, also from IKIM, Dr. Aslina Ibrahim and Dr. Megawati Morris from IIU International Islamic University and Dr. Wan Suhaimi Wan Abdullah from KSIS UTM. We are very fortunate in Malaysia to have more than 100 PhD scholars and researchers in the field of Aqidah and Islamic thought who from time to time participate in our Kalam revival project and activities. I'm also very happy to be with us Datuk Professor Muhammad Nasir Desa, CEO IKSIM, Malaysia Islamic Research Institute, who is very supportive to EC. Our Director General of IKIM, Datuk Professor Azizan, is represented by Dr. Muhammad Farid Shahran, Sensi Hakim and Sidi Abbas, who represented my young and energetic professional colleague from Embara. We also welcome you. Professor Dr. Fahruddin Abdul Muti from Rabita Al-Azhar, Malaysia, Brother Aziz Muhammad Amin of Centra, and Dr. Shamsuddin Arif of INSIS from Indonesia, who could not with us but were very important in our Kalam initiative here. We are also very honored that Sheikh Said Faudah agrees that his organization Al-Aslain to be one of the collaborators of KLIKS. Shukran, Ya Sheikh Said. With us here also many ulamas, scholars, researchers and students. Our guests from overseas, from Australia, with Sheikh Imam Afroz from Singapore, my academic friend from various universities in Malaysia, professional and corporate executive friends who are interested in this one abandoned subject of studies among the Muslims. I believe with your presence, our KLIKS 2 will become an important event for us to strengthen and consolidate and revive Ilmu Kalam at the public, academic and strategic level at the present day today, not only for the Muslim Ummah, but also for the entire world. My dear Masyaikh, colleagues, and KLIKS 2 guests, last year during KLIKS 1, we focused on building awareness on the need for Kalam revival as part of the thought and intellectual strategies to remedy and rectify the crisis of theological deficit that the humanity is facing now. Professor Dr. Arif talked about the crisis of theology in the modern world, while Sheikh Said presented the Kalam relevant to the present-day Muslim. We all are well aware Ilmu Kalam in the most of the 20th century had been a neglected field and discourse at the expense of the politics or siyasah, which much dominated the Muslim Ummah. We hope that in this century, 21st century, Ummah will transform from obsession with politics and power to theology and civilization. In designing KLIKS 2, I believe we need nowadays to revive God consciousness or religious consciousness or realities or haqa'iq consciousness in encountering on the onslaught of the godless anti-religion, the rejection of metaphysics attitude and artificial realities that surround us all over the world today by globalization and the communication technology promoted and propagated under the rubric of postmodernism. And we find no viable defense against the postmodern deconstructionism, relativism, and pluralism of our ontology, the way we understand realities and being around us, epistemology, the way we arrive at knowledge and certainty, and axiology, the way we judge on values, ethics, and morality, if not by retrieving our intellectual, spiritual, and civilizational tradition, and Ilmu Kalam is one of them. With the famous maxim of postmodern anything goes, we see how our belief in the absolute or objective realities, absolute or objective truth, and absolute or objective values have been demolished into disconstructed and relativized as only social and mental construct. We see the ideas of religious pluralism, making all religions are almost the same. We see the movement of LGBT, which want to redefine the meaning of gender, sex, marriage, and family, and anything related to our long cherished and well-established understanding of gender, sex, marriage, and family. In these 3 days of KLIKS 2, we want to learn from our mashaikh on the ontological, epistemological, and axiological challenges presented by postmodernism, and how the Islamic intellectual, spiritual, and civilizational tradition respond to this challenge. We really want you, dear Sheikh, dear Mashaikh, to teach us on this crucial problem of our time, which is, if not rectified, we change our understanding of Islam, especially among our young and future generation. Inshallah, we hope to benefit from our Mashaikh present, even if some of you may not be talking at this stage, but we still can consult and discuss with all of you throughout the event. We pray that Allah SWT make KLIKS 2 beneficial to us, inshallah. My dear Sheikh, colleague and KLIKS 2 guests, finally, before I end my welcoming speech, I would like us to remember one of our key persons in KLIKS, the late Dr. Adila Ishaq, who also our master ceremony during last year KLIKS at Kuala Lumpur. She had been very important to us. May Allah SWT reward her in Jannah for all her good work. And Al-Fatiha. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, respected Dr. Amran Muhammad, distinguished guests and scholars, Dr. Sheikh Umar Farouk, Imam Afroz, Dr. Sheikh Said Fuda, Dr. Khalid Zahri, and other invited speakers, representatives from various organizations, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning. It is indeed a great honor for Institute of Islamic Understanding, IKIM, to be part of the organization of this important symposium. It is no doubt that this symposium is an important event with a noble aim, which is to revive one of the important and long tradition of Islamic civilization, the discipline of Ilmul Kalam, especially in facing the postmodern challenges. To be part of this intellectual activity is not something unusual for IKIM, since IKIM has been very active from its very inception in organizing various intellectual programs that contributes to the development of knowledge culture in this country. IKIM motto, "Understand Islam, Build Civilization," is very much indicative of its serious effort to revive Islamic civilization that is based on proper worldview of Islam, through which Kalam approach is very instrumental. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Islam, Kalam is nothing but a serious effort to provide strong rational justification of the religious faith or Aqidah. Nevertheless, this rational justification will only take place if one important prerequisite is not fulfilled, namely the appreciation of rational thought in regard to religious matters. It is the criteria that has become an important foundation of the rise of great Islamic civilization in the past. Rational sciences, either they were tool sciences like mantiq or linguistics, or proper disciplines such as falsafa, metaphysics, kalam, usulul fiqh, are some of the important disciplines which have contributed in the large extent towards the elucidation of the essence of religion to the Muslim as a whole, and also to defend the Islamic faith to the people outside Islam. The Hujjatul Islam, the term entitled Hujjatul Islam given to great Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, was due to none other than his strong utilization of rational sciences in refuting the ideas, especially Ibn Sina and Al-Farabi, and thus defending Islamic doctrines against the Greek philosophical ideas that has penetrated into the Islamic tradition. Unfortunately today, some quarters of Muslim society are trying to say that rationality has no real place in religion. Through the excessive emphasis in the field of hadith, they are trying to impress upon others that it is sufficient for us to rely only to the naqliyat, the revelation, in order for us to understand the religion. This is something very unfortunate and is indicative of a sheer ignorance of the great and rich history and civilization of Islam. It is also an unrealistic approach to religion when religion has been reduced to only a small part of the whole civilization that Islam has produced. The only thing that we have to remind this kind of people is that we are now facing just the same enemy of what Al-Ghazali was facing nearly 1,000 years ago, only with different name. If Al-Ghazali was facing the ideas from Greek philosophy and metaphysics, we are today facing the philosophy from the postmodern liberalism, relativism philosophy, in many respects, in which in many respects are more rigorous and dangerous compared to the classical Greek philosophy. Another important aim of this symposium is to bring back Kalam to the mainstream of Muslim thinking, especially to the young generation. It is very unfortunate again that the young generation of Muslim today, not only they are not familiar with Kalam, they are also alien to proper way of thinking in many aspects of their life. As a result, we can see worrying trends taking place in the young generation of today, especially in relation with religion. Due to the lack of education in defending and explaining religion through rational means, a number of them are having dualistic approach in thinking, reason for the worldly affairs and pure faith for religion. This will ultimately produce a split personality, secular approach in thinking, and weak mind as far as religion is concerned. The more extreme implication is that some have resorted to extremism and radicalism, and the most extreme is making a decision to leave Islam and join other religions, which for them are more reasonable. This is where Kalam is greatly needed today. It is fard kifayah, and to some extent fard ain, to contemporary Muslim in order for them to properly define the content of their faith and strengthening it in a moderate and intellectual way, but more importantly to defend their religion from the fierce attack of the secular Western postmodern thinking and philosophy. And on behalf of Director General of IKIM and perhaps other institutions that are participating in today's symposium, I would like to extend our utmost welcome and thanks to all participants who are gathering here today and the following 2 days after this. It is certainly an important platform where great minds are congregating together in order to provide solution to the problems that the Muslims are facing now. May Allah grant us His barakah and include whatever we do in this 3 days program as good deeds, amal saleh, inshallah. And we really hope that this symposium will really achieve its noble objective and really clicks in our mind. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning on this very sunny day in Kuala Lumpur. I'm really delighted to be here and really delighted by the sheer number of people that have registered to come and attend this 3-day event. And I think it's really gratifying that we have come such a long way in reviving interest in this subject, which, as you all well know, for the last few decades, under the onslaught of many forces, has been dwindling in the fortunes of our tradition. So to see so many of you from such faraway places, such as Australia, the UK, America, Jordan, Morocco, to be coming together here to deliberate, to learn, to discuss, to argue, and to work together, it's something that is exactly what this particular project was for. I want to thank Dr. Amran Mohammed, our director here of our partner office in Kuala Lumpur, for his really him and his team's amazing work in furthering this particular process, in organizing a range of activities that have really been able to bring in a whole range of people that otherwise would not have been able to participate in this particular discussion. And the organization, this is testimony to the things that are yet to come. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of everyone at KRM, wherever the offices are located, for the great work that you and your team have been doing here for the last year and more. And we hope to see a lot more activities happening in Malaysia, but also bringing in Indonesian scholars, Singaporean scholars, and those which are in New Zealand and Australia, and in a way increasing the catchment area of the scholars which are part of this process. I also want to thank all scholars that will be contributing here in the next 3 days. Dr. Umar Farooq Abdullah, I'm very grateful that you are here. You have been a giant in the field of scholarship, and there's a tremendous amount that we are going to benefit. Dr. Saeed Foda, you've been single-handedly fighting many trends in the Muslim world, in the Arab world in particular, and your presence here is absolutely vital. Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad will be joining us again. He is again at the forefront of academia in Cambridge in bringing theology and existence together in conversation. And he'll be here tomorrow, inshallah. I hope he has a safe trip getting here, and we'll be hearing him also, his words of wisdom. We have Dr. Khalid Zahri from Morocco. Thank you for coming. Last year, your contribution was vital, and I'm sure it will be as important this year. I'm happy also that we have so many female scholars, coming this year. Dr. Hakima, Dr. Haslina, and as you know, we lost a great colleague of ours this year in her silent fight against cancer. But she was dedicated, and I think that for many of us, she will always serve as a role model of how you do scholarship, even amidst all the troubles that we face in life. So I'm very grateful, and we pray for her memory, and may this work continue, reflecting the spirit that she brought to this enterprise. I want to thank everyone. I'm sure I missed a lot of people, who are contributing over the next 3 days. I want to welcome Sheikh Muhammad Haider Jilani, from Gambia, to this event, and please pray for us that this event is successful and that there is barakah in these proceedings. And whatever we do, however intellectual we sound, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we're uniting our hearts and our minds. That's perhaps one of the greatest challenges that we face today, that this disunity that we have amongst us and amongst regions and amongst institutions is lessened, inshallah. I represent Kalam Research and Media. I have to convey my deepest apologies from Dr. Arif Ali Nayed, the founder and chairman of Kalam Research and Media, who was with you last year. He is deeply saddened for not being here, but greets you warmly and wishes that this event is extremely successful. His health has been failing under the onslaught of the work that he's had to do on Libya. The last few weeks have been very difficult politically in the country. And as you know, the Middle East is going through a very difficult transition period right now. It's a significant moment in history right now. And sometimes it's not just a matter of preserving religion, but preserving life as we know it. So these are challenges that we as theologians or as people that work in activism can't really escape. And we have to bring our wisdom and our good sense to bear. And we can't be left out of this conversation because it affects the life and institutions and our own civilizations and their future. But there's two things that Dr. Arif, of course, was going to talk about: philosophy and critical theory and ontology and aspects of postmodernism, some of which are salutary and some of which are not salutary. Remember that our theology is not only about fighting everything that's out there. You know, perhaps in the past, Kalam was a defense of faith. And it is, and it continues to be. But we are looking now, developing theology as such. And it's not just a fight against the prevailing winds all the time, because that, in a way, is only successful so far. We want to engage positively for our communities and positively for the world. And so whatever good there is to learn from all the trends which are out there, many of them have been developed by sincere hearts and minds, we need to take that on board. We need to see what's there that can be developed for our own good and for the good of everyone. And caution when there needs to be caution. And it's in that spirit of balance that I think that we're going to define, a theology that's going to be useful for everyone. But there are two axioms that he wanted to again remind, and he spoke about these the last time, and he continues to undergird whatever scholarship theologically that he does. And that is that, one, we have to be rooted in our tradition, that we have to be proud of the tradition that we possess. We stand on the shoulders of giants here. We have 1,400 years of theological, intellectual history. We have tremendous men and women who've contributed, magnificently to human knowledge. And we should be proud of that. We are not replacing that heritage. We are not, throwing that heritage away. We cannot, because they are part of who we are. And they've made us who we are. But we are moving that conversation forward based on that heritage. We stand on it and we're moving forward with it. In the Catholic Church, they say the tradition, the magisterium was very slow in movement. It has to be so because it's a magisterium that carries centuries and centuries of accumulated wisdom and knowledge. And so it is with our own tradition. We're not going to throw away our tradition. We have to be proud of it, but we have to revive its nomenclature, its life in this day and age, because the circumstances, assumptions, and so many other aspects that we take for granted have fundamentally changed. Some aspects, of course, have not. Human beings have continued to be the same. Life and existence is still the same. And the divine, future that's coming, that will remain the same. But the challenges that we face in our daily life, in what we call existence, there is the fundamental difficulties right now that religion and society face, and we have to be cognizant to it. And that's where we have to revive our theological thinking. Second axiom is that we have to be open to the future. We have to be open to these trends which are there. And how do we talk about them? How do we integrate them? How do we caution people about some of those aspects? Or how do we appropriate knowledge in this day and age? We are not islands. Our institutions have lived now, and our scholars, unfortunately, in islands of isolation, intellectually and spiritually. But that is no longer going to work for any one of us in our societies. We see a lot of young Muslims, really talented individuals, and I've seen them over the last 30 years. I've been working in activism. People who lose faith, who no longer go to the mosque, who no longer consult their teachers, who are at the highest form, centers of learning academically in the East and the West, but who no longer connect to their own faith because he has nothing to say to them. Now, why should that happen? Why should the physicist at Harvard be losing his faith or his or her faith? Why should someone who's doing anthropology or genetics be losing his or her faith? So, so these are things that we have to discuss honestly. And we have to be open to produce a language that makes sense, even if we don't have all the answers. However, the fact that we are guiding people to produce the right answers is work in itself. So rootedness and openness to the future is what's going to perhaps save our theology or help us develop a theology that's going to be wholesome. So we have to be realistic. We have to have the courage to look ourselves in the mirror to where theology is going right now, to the state of our communities and our own scholarship. Where are our Nobel Prize winners in our intellectual sciences right now? Why have we fallen so far behind? Why is it that I find journals and academic journals on the floors of our mosques with no respect? Why is it that we treat our own scholarship, with such low esteem? What is going wrong with ourselves that we can't simply understand the world that we live in? So realism and the courage to face it is what's required in the present. But we also need for the future a vision that's wholesome, that integrates our own communities, but also the rest of the world. Because in a way now, you can't live in isolation. Whatever I'm saying right now is probably being tweeted, and someone in Los Angeles or Cambridge or Amman is going to hear it at the same time. We can't live in isolation anymore. We don't have the luxury, to be isolated and to do our own thing here when something else is going on over there. It isn't the same anymore. And you live in a metropolis here in Kuala Lumpur, how similar some of the issues that your own young people and intellectuals face here. So similar to the ones which are being faced in New York or which are being faced in Paris and elsewhere. Or even in the streets of Cairo. So, in a way, the world has become smaller in many ways. So we have to be visionary. And we have to have the courage to say certain things which are not going well and how we're going to get out of them. Now, the other two speakers have already said everything that needed to be said about the process and the program and the challenges Kalam faces. However, I'm very glad that KRM is partnering with, and I have to say this very carefully because EC sounds a bit like ISIS. But that's one of the drawbacks of the modern political period. But the Islamic and Strategic Studies Center Institute here, we are proud to have them as partners. We have over 40 or 50 titles at the moment in production, books that range from journals to academics to anthologies to critical editions. We also have a range of titles which are written by Malaysian scholars. We hope to integrate a lot more from Indonesian and Singaporean scholars also into our publishing schedule. But you'll see a lot of publishing being done. We produced a book on religion and science by Dr. Basil Latai, who's a physicist at the University of Yarmouk in Jordan. Sheikh Said Foda has brought out almost 7 publications in Arabic on contemporary issues on existence of God, on religion and science, or contemporary questions of a range of subjects. So these are the kind of works that we wish to produce. And again, this is work in progress. Let me just be clear that none of these works provide definitive answers. I mean, how can they? But we are moving towards an area whereby through collaboration, through discussion and argument, our scholarship can become better and better and better. And the one thing I'm really happy to see is there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of exchange between Muslim scholars, but also Muslims and non-Muslims, between experts in the field. And that's exactly the spirit that we wish to do our work in the future. So to end this few remarks, KRM is interested in providing safe spaces for scholarship to happen. And we hope that this scholarship is done with a spirit of humility, and not the bombastic, the triumphalist, theology or religious discussion that we had in the 80s and 70s with the Islamization of knowledge, enterprise. No, it can't be. It failed in many ways to produce what we wanted to produce. So in a way, it's important to do it humbly because we're very far behind in many aspects of knowledge. But to do it in such a way that's able to integrate our rational minds with our spiritual life. And that's very, very, very important. So again, I thank you for coming. I don't want to bore you any further. For those that are not able to be here, they'll be able to follow us through a live web stream, inshallah. And do engage the speakers over the next 3 years. Be critical when they need to be. You need to be critical. Engage with them and learn. And this should be a place where you can discuss and hear and listen and be heard, inshallah. So Jazakallah khairan for the organizers, to the diplomatic precinct for making this event possible here in this venue, and all the very best. Assalamu alaikum.